Welcome to Express Recaps. Today we are going to do a recap of the movie First Sunday from 2008. The movie begins in Baltimore, where Daryl and Lee John are struggling with various issues in their lives. Daryl finds himself in an anxious situation when his son's mother, Unique, announces she is moving to Atlanta and taking Daryl Jr. with her. Unrealistically, she needs to come up with over $17,000, a year's worth of rent, for her hair salon within a week or she forfeits renewing her lease. Daryl is a loving father who desperately wants to provide a better life for his young son. But he is faced with financial difficulties and the threat of eviction. Lee John, on the other hand, is a mischievous troublemaker who constantly finds himself on the wrong side of the law. Lee John and his best friend Daryl always find themselves among corrupt circumstances, by choice, not chance. Lee John makes a deal with Jamaican gangsters to deliver stolen wheelchairs. The delivery goes awry when the two friends engage in a heated car chase with police. Once again, they are in front of Judge B. Bennett Galloway, who decides to forego sentencing jail time and, instead, orders 5,000 hours of community service. Desperate to come up with the money needed to save his son's future, Daryl hatches a plan to rob a local church. He believes that the church's congregation is filled with wealthy individuals who can spare some cash. Reluctantly, Lee John agrees to join him, though he is initially skeptical about the plan. On the fateful Sunday, Daryl and Lee John disguise themselves as repairmen and enter the church premises, pretending to fix a plumbing issue. As they explore the church, they stumble upon a room filled with cash, assuming that their prayers have been answered. However, they soon realize that the money belongs to the church's elderly and well-respected pastor, Cleaver, played by Kai McBride. Caught in a bind, Daryl and Lee John decide to take the money and make a swift getaway. However, their plans are quickly foiled when they discover that the church's doors have been locked, trapping them inside with the money. They find themselves forced to spend the night inside the church until they can find a way to escape. As the night progresses, Daryl and Lee John encounter an eccentric group of church members who have also been inadvertently locked inside. This group includes the sassy and outspoken Sister Doris, the compassionate but slightly senile Sister Hannah, and the enthusiastic choir director, Ricky. Amidst the chaos and hilarity that ensues, Daryl and Lee John learn important lessons about friendship, family, and the true meaning of faith. They also witness firsthand the impact that the church has on the lives of its members and the strength that comes from unity and support. As they find themselves trapped inside the church with the stolen money, as they try to devise a plan to escape, they encounter a series of unexpected obstacles and colorful characters. Daryl and Lee John realize that they are not the only ones stuck inside the church. They meet Tiana, the attractive and feisty daughter of Pastor Cleaver. Tiana initially suspects Daryl and Lee John of foul play, but they manage to convince her of their innocence and desperate circumstances. As they search for a way out, Daryl and Lee John stumble upon a secret room in the church where Pastor Cleaver keeps an old, treasured Bible. The discovery leads them to suspect that there might be something more valuable hidden within its pages. Determined to find a solution to their predicament, they decide to take the Bible with them, hoping that it could be their ticket to freedom. Meanwhile, tensions rise as Sister Doris, who suspects foul play from the beginning, becomes increasingly suspicious of Daryl and Lee John's intentions. She confronts them, accusing them of being thieves and demanding answers. Daryl and Lee John do their best to deflect her accusations, trying to maintain their innocence and hide their true intentions. In their search for an escape route, Daryl and Lee John accidentally trigger the church's alarm system. Panic ensues as the alarm blares, alerting the police and threatening to expose their presence inside the church. The group, now joined by Tiana and the rest of the trapped church members, frantically tries to find a way to disable the alarm and avoid getting caught. Amidst the chaos, the group discovers a hidden tunnel that leads to the outside. Filled with hope, they believe that their troubles might finally be over. However, their relief is short-lived when they find the tunnel blocked by rubble, rendering it impassable. They are back to square one, trapped inside the church and running out of time. As the 40-minute mark approaches, Daryl and Lee John are forced to confront their conscience. They realize that their initial intentions were misguided and that they must find a way to make amends for their actions. They decide to return the stolen money and face the consequences, hoping that it will help redeem themselves and set things right. The duo, joined by the trapped church members, must find a way to return the stolen money and rectify their mistakes. With their plan to escape through the tunnel thwarted, Daryl and Lee John realize that they need another strategy to right their wrongs. They devise a new plan to sneak out of the church, return the stolen money, and confess their actions to Pastor Cleaver, seeking forgiveness. As they plot their escape, Daryl and Lee John face further challenges. Sister Doris remains skeptical of their intentions and continues to voice her suspicion, making their mission even more difficult. However, the duo remains determined to make amends and prove their sincerity. As they navigate the church corridors, Daryl and Lee John inadvertently stumble upon a rehearsal for a gospel choir performance. They witness the profound effect that music has on the congregation, uplifting their spirits and fostering a sense of unity. Inspired by this powerful display, Daryl and Lee John realize the importance of community and discover that they can make a positive impact. With newfound determination, Durrell and Lee John manage to slip out of the church unnoticed, carrying the stolen money with them. They embark on a chaotic journey through the city streets, encountering various obstacles along the way. Their antics lead to a series of comedic situations, including a run-in with the police and a comical chase through a crowded marketplace. Despite the obstacles, Durrell and Lee John eventually make their way to a local homeless shelter. They believe that returning the stolen money to those in need will serve as their ultimate act of redemption. The shelter's director, Mrs. Obama, is moved by their sincerity and accepts the returned funds. As they reflect on their actions, Durrell and Lee John realize the importance of family and selflessness. They understand that the true value of their journey lies not in the money they stole, but in the lessons they have learned and the relationships they have forged along the way. Having fulfilled their mission, Durrell and Lee John return to the church, ready to face the consequences of their actions. They confess their wrongdoing to Pastor Cleaver, expecting retribution. To their surprise, Pastor Cleaver forgives them, recognizing their genuine remorse and the positive impact they have made. Their journey takes unexpected turns, pushing them to confront their own limitations and discover the true value of friendship and community. Determined to return the stolen money to the church, Durrell and Lee John face a major obstacle when they find the doors locked upon their return. They realize that they are still trapped inside the church, leaving them with no choice but to come up with a new plan. They decide to seek assistance from Pastor Cleaver, hoping he can unlock the doors and grant them access. As they search for Pastor Cleaver, Durrell and Lee John stumble upon a rehearsal for a youth play in the church basement. Inspired by the children's dedication and talent, they decide to offer their assistance in setting up the stage and props. Their involvement leads to comical mishaps and outrageous moments as they struggle with the unfamiliar task. In the midst of their chaotic efforts, Durrell and Lee John encounter the talented and spirited choir director, Ricky, who is impressed by their enthusiasm. Ricky invites them to join the church choir, recognizing their potential to contribute to the performance. Reluctantly, Durrell and Lee John agree, discovering a hidden talent for singing and a newfound appreciation for the power of music. With their participation in the choir, Durrell and Lee John begin to connect with the church community on a deeper level. They form unexpected friendships and witness the positive impact the church has on its members' lives. As they rehearse for the performance, they also discover a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Meanwhile, Sister Doris remains suspicious of Durrell and Lee John's intentions, convinced that they are up to no good. She continues to investigate their actions, determined to expose their true motives. Sister Doris's relentless pursuit adds a layer of tension and comedic conflict to the narrative. Amidst the choir rehearsals and their interactions with the church members, Durrell and Lee John encounter Tiana once again. Tiana's initial distrust has transformed into curiosity and a growing fondness for the two unlikely choir members. She begins to see their genuine desire to change and make amends. As the 80-minute mark approaches, the day of the church performance arrives. The church is filled with eager attendees, eager to witness the talent and passion displayed by the choir. Durrell and Lee John, having embraced their new roles, deliver a heartfelt performance that touches the congregation's hearts. However, just as the performance concludes, Sister Doris confronts Durrell and Lee John, revealing that she has discovered the truth about the stolen money. The tension reaches its peak as the fate of our protagonists hangs in the balance. Durrell and Lee John prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions, fully aware that they may have to face legal repercussions. To their surprise, Pastor Cleaver intervenes, demonstrating forgiveness and understanding. He recognizes the positive impact Durrell and Lee John have had on the church community and their sincere efforts to make amends. Pastor Cleaver decides to handle the situation internally, sparing them from external consequences as they face the consequences of their actions and strive to find true redemption. After being spared from external consequences by Pastor Cleaver, Durrell and Lee John are filled with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. They realize that they have been given a second chance to make things right and rebuild their lives. With their newfound determination, Durrell and Lee John decide to embrace a life of honesty and integrity. They actively involve themselves in the church community, seeking opportunities to contribute and help others. Their selfless actions and genuine remorse begin to win over the skeptical Sister Doris, who slowly starts to see their transformation. As they immerse themselves in church activities, Durrell and Lee John continue to develop meaningful relationships with the congregation. They form a strong bond with Tiana, who has become an integral part of their journey towards redemption. Together, they provide support and encouragement to one another, navigating the challenges they face with humor and resilience. During this time, the trio discovers an opportunity to give back to the community that has embraced them. They organize a fundraising event to support a local children's charity, showcasing their commitment to making a positive impact on the lives of others. The event becomes a resounding success, bringing the community together and highlighting the power of unity and compassion. As the film approaches its conclusion, Durrell and Lee John reflect on their journey and the lessons they have learned along the way. They realize that their initial intentions of seeking financial gain had led them astray, but the experiences within the church have transformed them into better individuals. They have discovered the true meaning of family, friendship, and the importance of community support. In a heartfelt moment, Daryl stands before the congregation during a church service and delivers a sincere confession. He acknowledges his past mistakes, expresses gratitude for the forgiveness he has received, and encourages others to learn from his experience. His honesty and vulnerability resonate deeply with the church members, further solidifying their acceptance and support. The film concludes with a celebratory and joyous scene as the church community gathers for a final musical performance. Daryl, Lee John, Tiana, and the entire congregation come together, singing and dancing in unison. The scene encapsulates the spirit of forgiveness, redemption, and the power of unity. In the final moments of First Sunday, Daryl and Lee John have transformed from two individuals driven by desperation to a duo filled with hope, compassion, and a genuine desire to change. They have not only redeemed themselves but have become catalysts for positive change within the church community.